One of the most powerful descriptions of narcissism doesn't come from modern psychology. It comes from an ancient Indian idea known as the hungry ghost. Once you understand what a hungry ghost is, you'll never look at the narcissist or narcissists, plural, in your life the same way again. Hi, everybody. This is Jack. Welcome back home to the Happiness Habit. Here we learn how understanding ourselves helps us understand others and how self-observation leads to greater clarity and a better life. Have you ever noticed that no matter how much you give a narcissist, it is never enough? You can give them your time, your attention, your loyalty, your money, your patience, your forgiveness, and yet they always come back wanting more. You remember when Prince sang the song, When Doves Cry? One line in that is this. He sang, "Sometimes I'm just like my mother, she's never satisfied." Narcissists are never satisfied, ever. Why? Because they are what ancient Indian traditions called a hungry ghost. Imagine that for a moment, a ghost, because they're not really there, are they? Narcissists are totally imaginary. They live in a world of unreality. They live in unreality. They're not there emotionally. They have no inner life of their own, so they're entirely external, exterior, because there's nothing inside them. They're completely empty. They have no life. And they have no, because they have no inner life, that means they have no life, none. The lights are on, but nobody's home. You remember at Easter when you were a kid and you'd get one of those chocolate Easter bunnies? Did you ever pop the head off of that thing and look inside? And you're thinking, hey, this is solid milk chocolate. Wow, this is great. Look at all this chocolate I get to eat today. Nuh-uh. That chocolate Easter bunny is completely hollow inside. Start thinking of narcissists as completely hollow inside, because they are. That's why they have to get up every day and try to fill themselves with things from this world. Things like titles and promotions and a feeling of self-importance, authority. They're always trying to fill themselves with things that are never going to fill them up, right? In Sanskrit, the word ghost is preta, P-R-E-T-A. Sanskrit is 3,500 years old. It's from the part of the world that is now India. The ancient people, even then, were talking about narcissists. They were calling them hungry ghosts. Isn't that amazing? People were having troubles with narcissists, supremely self-centered, emotionally undeveloped, immature people. 3,500 years ago, they were having the same issue. That's human nature. Isn't that amazing? A hungry ghost is said to have a huge stomach that is always grumbling because it's empty. So it's got a huge stomach, but an impossibly tiny, narrow little throat. So no matter what it eats, its stomach is never going to get full, ever. Big stomach means they're always hungry. Tiny throat means they can chew on food, but very little food, very little emotional sustenance finds its way inside of them. This means they are always starving, always famished, always wanting something, always desiring something. Try to spot this in your narcissist, The narcissist who's making your life so wonderful, the wonderful way that they are, right? They have an insatiable craving. It can never be satisfied. Big stomach and a tiny, narrow throat. I can't think of a better description of narcissism than calling it a hungry ghost, because it's so accurate. A narcissist is not merely selfish. A narcissist is psychologically hungry, emotionally hungry. They're famished. They're hungry for attention, right? They want you to be attending to them. They're hungry for admiration. They want you to stroke them and tell them how good they are. They can't get enough of that. Oh, you're just so wonderful. Oh, I could just sit here and listen to you pontificate all day long, Mr. or Mrs. Narcissist. You're just so wonderful. They're hungry for praise, hungry for control, hungry for sympathy, right? Aren't they the consummate victims? They're either the narcissist is either the big phony conquering hero or the big phony crybaby victim, right? They're hungry for status, hungry for power, hungry for authority, hungry for validation, hungry for emotional reactions from me and you. They want us to react so they can feed. That's how they feed, which is why when we go gray rock or no contact, that freaks them out. They can't handle that. They need emotional reaction so they can feed. So if they're not getting it from you, they'll leave you and go elsewhere. They'll go get it somewhere else because they have to have the drama. And they know how to push all your buttons and my buttons so that they get the drama. You know? So they're hungry for someone, anyone, to reassure them that the big phony false image they've created is real. And real is the absolute last thing their false, phony image, persona, or mask is, because their phony, contrived image is not based in reality. Narcissists, as you so well know, hate reality. And because their big, phony image is false, nothing that they get from the exterior is ever enough. Therefore, I give you, ladies and gentlemen, the hungry ghosts. That's what they are. The people who wrote and spoke Sanskrit 3,500 years ago in modern day India, they were right. Whoever coined that phrase was deadly accurate. They are hungry ghosts. The lights are on, but nobody's home. They're not there. They have vacated the premises, right? One compliment is never enough. One promotion is never enough. They need two. They can't just be the boss. They want to be the district manager. Sure, that'll make you happy. Go ahead and be the district manager. God, they're so stupid. I can't believe it. They think titles are something. They think having that title really means something. You show me the CEOs and the vice presidents and all the top people, the CFOs at all the corporations worldwide, and I'll show you a mass of narcissists. Anybody, whoever's in charge at your company or any company you know, they're narcissists. Narcissists flock to authoritative position because they got to have that control. They got to tell other people what to do. They got to feel like they're number one. And if they get up into that position, they like that position because nobody questions them. Very few people question the boss. Very few. So that they can get their kicks and jollies and pretend that they control everything. You know, what they're doing is actually playing the role of God. You know, when scripture says, thou shalt place no gods before me, you know, what is it? Old Testament, I am a jealous God and thou shalt place no gods before me. Well, yeah. What do you think the God of self is? That's what it's talking about. Don't put yourself above God. Or, I mean, you have free will. You can do that if you want, but you will pay the price. The natural order of life is God, man, woman, child. If you deviate from that natural order, you will suffer, guaranteed, because you're not doing things correctly. We should do an entire video on that. The natural order of life. I'm writing that down right now. So one promotion is never enough. One relationship is never enough. They need two. He needs a girl behind your back, ladies, or she needs a friend at work, fellas. Watch her, because, the male or female narcissist will cheat on you in a heartbeat. Watch them. One expensive purchase is not enough. They need another one. They need two. One victory is never enough. They can't just defeat an enemy. They have to leave their enemy flattened. They have to destroy their enemy, right? Oh my God, they're bad. All you got to do is be on the receiving end of one of those escapades, and you'll understand. So the satisfaction that they do receive from any of their phony little exterior worldly victories disappears almost immediately. So they start searching again. Another compliment, another argument, another conquest, another audience, another victim, another source of narcissistic supply, right? So let's look at some of the characteristics of these hungry ghosts. Number one, they always want more. Whatever you gave them yesterday doesn't count today. Yesterday was a long time ago, right? They quickly became accustomed to whatever it was you gave them, and now they expect even more. Okay, number two, nothing is appreciated for very long. Their gratitude is usually not only temporary, but false too. You can see right through it, right? Their entitlement quickly replaces appreciation. They feel entitled to things, They should own everything. You should own nothing. Get it? Got it? Good. That's how they operate. Number three, they feed on emotional reactions. So notice this. Sometimes they seem happier after an argument than after a peaceful evening, right? They like that. They love the thrill of arguing. Conflict feeds them. Attention is attention. They don't care if it's positive or negative. Even negative attention can satisfy them for a little while, Number four, narcissists constantly compare themselves with others. The hungry ghost never asks, do I have enough? Instead, it asks, do I have more than you? How am I doing in relation to you? Do I appear more successful than you? Okay, number five, they can't celebrate your success. Someone else's achievement feels like their loss. Instead of joy, they feel envy, the little green monster. Instead of ever encouraging someone, they want to compete. That's how they are. Number six, they can never admit fault, ever. They can never say, sorry, I made a mistake. Okay? They can't. They also literally collect people because they need contacts for emotional feeding. They need supply, friends, followers, romantic partners, employees, family members, not because they value people. They could not care less about people, but because people have become, for them, sources of emotional fuel. They have to have someone they can always reach out to, contact, always. Seven, they constantly rewrite reality. When they lose, which is often, they invent excuses. If they fail, they blame someone else. If they're ever even the slightest bit criticized, they become the victim instantaneously, right? Oh, you're always picking on me. I saw one go from conquering hero to sniveling coward victim in like a nanosecond. The way he's switched his roles was unbelievable. And both roles, of course, were completely false. It wasn't him at all. A hungry ghost cannot stand the truth. They hate reality. This is why narcissists have such trouble later on in life when their health goes bad, when they even come to the end of their physical life, when they're dying. Narcissists usually have a horrible time with dying, death and dying, because they've been pushing away reality for so long. And what's more real than, hey, this life is about to end, pal, What they can't come to grips with that. Well, what do you mean? I'm supposed to live forever, right? So they can't stand truth. They can't stand reality. They hate being described. A hungry ghost hates being described. If you want to watch one squirm, just start describing him or her and watch and see what happens. They hate it. They hate it. 8, they consume without giving back, right? They take your time, they take your energy, they take your money, they take your attention, they take any compassion you show them, any empathy you show them. Oh, they absorb it like a dry sponge endlessly. And they give back nothing, just nothing. There's really nothing there at all. How can something that's not there provide you with anything? They can't. I'm trying to save you a lot of heartache, time, trouble, money, energy. I know in most cases it's really not going to sink in until it happens to you. But I remember a very good relationship I had with a man. I knew he was a narcissist too, but he was not a bad one. He was not a bad narcissist. He was manageable. But at the end of that 15-year relationship, when we were friends and tight and close and all that, there was nothing. I was left holding the bag. There was nothing there. That was a big lesson for me. Okay, number 9, narcissists, hungry ghosts, they can't stand being ignored. They can't stand being ignored. Nothing frightens a hungry ghost more than silence, than not acknowledging them. Especially in the morning, you're saying good morning to everybody, and then you see the narcissist. Just ignore it. Ignore that thing and watch what happens. I remember I ignored one for 6 years. We worked at the same place, and I didn't look his way or anything for 6 years. Finally, at the end of all that, I did say something to him, and you know what he did? I thought he was going to break down and cry. I couldn't believe the look on his face. He said, quote, "You hurt me so much." I didn't owe him anything. We happened to work at the same place. I wasn't in his department. I didn't need to interact with him at all. But I knew what he was. And I had seen him, I saw the pattern of behavior. I knew what he was. And the word was out, and he was very toxic. He was a toxic individual. So what am I supposed to do with someone who's toxic? I ignore them. And he got ignored for 6 years. And when we finally did communicate one day, Sunday afternoon, I remember he almost broke down and cried. I couldn't believe it. You should have seen the look on his face. He said, I just told you, he said, "You hurt me so much." I'm like, God, get a grip on yourself. I hurt you because I wasn't paying attention to you, oh great one. So they can't stand being ignored. Nothing terrifies them more than you just looking right through them and ignoring them and just don't even give them the time of day. Nothing. That'll kill them. Right? Why? Because silence and no interaction offers no emotional nourishment. You literally starve them to death when you ignore them. Number 10, they leave others feeling drained. Okay? This is one of the biggest warning signs. After spending time with these narcissists, you will feel, or you may notice that you're feeling exhausted, confused, anxious, nervous, emotionally depleted, almost as though someone had siphoned off your good energy. And that's because, emotionally speaking, they have. That's exactly what's happened. Like Dracula, they siphoned off your energy. That's why I want nothing to do with these people. And they're not people anyway. They're parasites. Like a dog gets fleas. Is a dog in love with the fleas that he has? Not at all. Because a flea is a parasite. The dog is the host. You don't want to be a host to anybody who's draining you, do you? Not at all. So here's the tragedy. Most people think narcissists are happy because they appear confident. Well, they're not. Their false self demands constant feeding. But narcissists are really good at passing themselves off as just normal, everyday people. Okay, so you got to look for the patterns. Does it want to be an authority? Does it tell lies? Right? Does it lie frequently? Does it twist and mangle reality? Does it twist and mangle the truth? Does it withhold information? Is it always playing games? If you tick any of those, if the person you're thinking of ticks any of those boxes, that's what you're dealing with, right? Imagine spending every day trying to fill a hole inside of you that has no bottom, okay? That's not freedom. That is psychological, emotional imprisonment. These people are like in prison inside their own bodies, which makes them miserable. They're miserable people. They're not going to get out of their misery. So the best thing I can do is have nothing to do with them. Nothing means nothing. So the real lesson is not to hate the hungry ghost. The real lesson is to recognize it. Recognize the patterns of behavior. If you don't understand what you're dealing with, you'll spend years trying to satisfy someone who cannot be satisfied. Just like Prince sang, sometimes I'm just like my mother, she's never satisfied, Or you'll think, well, they just need a little more love. I'll just love them a little more, which you can't do anyway, right? You can't love anybody. You don't even love yourself. How are you supposed to love somebody else? Stay tuned for more on that. So, you and I are not at the emotional level of love, which it does exist, and it's much higher than me, you, and anyone else we know is on, at least at this moment. But if you keep working at it, you can get there. If you start self-observing, you could rise to the emotional level of love. But anyway, or you think, well, I'll just explain myself better to this narcissist. Well, I just need to be more patient with this narcissist. Well, I just need to sacrifice a little bit more. Then everything will finally be okay between us. I'm here to tell you, friend, it won't be okay with you. They're a bottomless pit. They cannot be satisfied. You can't fill a bottomless hole, okay? The greatest act of compassion is not feeding an illusion. The greatest act of compassion is to see the illusion clearly. And it's compassionate for you for a change. You need compassion for yourself. Forget the other person. Forget it. There's no curing that. Okay? When you stop trying to satisfy a hungry ghost, you start reclaiming your own peace. You start regaining your own clarity. You need clarity. You need awareness. You need to see what you're actually dealing with. And that narcissist, it's a what. It's not a who. Who would imply, that it's somewhat normal, and it's not. It's a what, okay? There's no who there. That thing needs professional help, and it's not going to ever get it because it still thinks it's number one and perfect and the whole bit. But that's what it needs. The first thing a narcissist needs to hear is the last thing a narcissist wants to hear, and that is there is something seriously wrong with you. Narcissists need professional help. Will they get it? Probably not. Because the first step in getting professional help is to admit that you actually have a problem. And narcissists do not see themselves as having any kind of a problem at all. They see themselves as superior, the best, triumphant, right? Everybody should be as great as they are. So that narcissist, good luck getting them into therapy. They're not going to do it. There's not a snowball's chance in hell of that ever happening. So you got to focus on the things you can't control, which is you and your life. You need clarity of what you are dealing with. That's your focus. Forget waiting for them to change. It ain't going to happen. Because to change, a person has to want to change, okay? And they don't want to change. It's not in them. They're not gonna. They're not built that way. So suffice it to say, the narcissist, the hungry ghost, is stuck in emotional, psychological prison. They're locked away in a tiny, cramped prison cell, and that's where they're going to stay. And, I can't tell you what to do, but I'll tell you what I did and what I continue to do. All the narcissists I used to know, and I know their patterns, so I know which ones they are. A lot of them are dead. The narcissists I know now, I have nothing to do with any of them. And that includes some former close friends and some, other people. It includes some neighbors of mine. All you got to do is talk with them once, twice maybe. They'll say and do something. Anyway, leave that hungry ghost alone in his or her prison cell. That's where they belong. You deserve much better than wasting your short life stuck with somebody like that. Thank you for joining us today. We will see you good people next time.